Roland, to you first on this one. Virginia was a state. Obama carried in 2008. Right. I'm going to go to the map in a minute and lay this out a little bit. Already it's iffy when if you come out of 2010 thinking Tea Party, Republican year, you're looking at Virginia saying not so sure. And now you've got a Senate race where you don't have the incumbent.
But although he carried it, it still was a state that was going back and forth. Remember, although Mark Warner, former governor, he won, Webb still had a very tough race when he won. Republicans of Bob McConnell wins the governor's mansion. They also win the attorney general race. And so that state is in very much a state in flux, a purple state. And so even if Jim Webb ran for re-election, he would still have a tough chance. And so even being the incumbent, I think in this case, really doesn't matter because it's an evenly split state.
And Erick Erickson, this is a huge state now, target for Republicans because they want to get it anyway. Here's the landscape for 2012. Whereas a blue, that's a Democratic-held state. Ours, a Republican-held state. Two independents in the Senate are up. Joe Lieberman has already announced he's not going to run. Bernie Sanders is up in New York. But Virginia down here, now held by a Democrat. The Republicans came up just short, Eric, in this 2010 midterm election cycle. So they're trying to get the Senate majority in a presidential year 2012. Many would think, and many Republicans in Virginia think, let George Allen be our nominee. Yes, he did lose last time to Jim Webb, but he won for governor. He won statewide for Senate. He should be our nominee. But listen here, this is Jamie Radke. She is a Tea Party leader in Virginia. She says George Allen is the past.
I would say that I don't think that that's the direction that Virginia wants to go. I mean, you're right. I mean, the choice is, do you want a 30-year politician who's been a part of the Washington establishment, or do you want a part of this new generation of leadership up there that's really trying to tackle the problems and come up with good solutions?
So is part of your message that the Tea Party, the new Tea Party lawmakers here in Washington need reinforcements?
Absolutely. You know, we made great strides in the House. We came close in the Senate, but we need to put more fighters in the U.S. Senate that are going to be able to repeal Obamacare, pass a balanced budget amendment. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to do to right the ship and turn this economy around.
Play pundit with me. You've gotten a good sense of the state over the past campaign year, working with the Tea Party on elections. Who would be the toughest Democrat?
Well, you know, that's interesting. There's the names that I've heard in your media circles have been Tim Kaine and Tom Perriello. And frankly, both of them have been lapdogs for President Obama. So, if either one of those are on the table, I don't think that that's going to be good for Democrats in Virginia.
Erick Erickson, you are a big force and a major conduit of information for the Tea Party movement this year. Are you with Jamie Radke or George Allen?
I like Jamie Radke. I'd be happy to support her. I've said my preference would be her. I think George Allen has a lot to account for in the miserable 2006 campaign he ran. Yes, it was a bad year for Democrats, but not necessarily for George Allen in Virginia until he just made the macaca moment and went downhill from there through that campaign. I suspect Tim Kaine's going to be the Democratic nominee for the Senate there. Jamie Radke will give George Allen a run for his money. He's not a shoo-in.
And Dana, Jamie Radke, she's a Tea Party leader. She's obviously blunt-spoken, but she's taking a bit of a political risk if we're in 2008 by calling Tim Kaine and Tom Perriello, a congressman who just lost his re-election bid, lapdogs for Obama. 2008 environment, that's a tough thing to say. She is convinced, though, Dana, that in 2010, that this state's not going to look the same. Here's 2008. I'm showing the map here. You cover all these Democrats. Democrats from a lot of these blue states are up for re-election in 2012. It's a very different political environment, isn't it?
A very different political environment. There are 23 of them, as he said, who are up for re-election. Look, Jamie Radke certainly is. She's campaigning on the politics of the now, and politics of the now do show her that, as Eric said, there's no reason for her to think that anybody who's an incumbent or a former incumbent, like her Republican opponent, George Allen, is somebody who people want to keep in office. But it is a long way between now and then. A long way between now and then. But I will just tell you that she doesn't just have the support of people out there. She was actually here in the United States Senate, and she was invited to speak at the Senate Tea Party caucus meeting. So she's probably going to have some help from her fellow Tea Partiers here in the Senate.
John, big difference. The House is not the Senate.
Right.
Tea Party folks in Nevada lost. O'Donnell lost. The House is a whole different deal. You're not running statewide. Plus, President Obama is on the ballot. Young voters, African Americans, Hispanics. And so she might be thinking, oh, Tea Party, you folks work on the Senate side. That's a different type of statewide campaign than you're talking about a congressional district where it's a lot more gerrymandered in terms of being Republican or Democrat.
That's an important point to make.
It's also going to be a lot harder for it's going to be a lot harder for the Republicans than I think a lot of them think. After 2010, a lot of them were looking at the map saying, oh boy, this is going to be great for us in 2012. I think they forgot, to Roland's point, that Barack Obama is going to be on the ballot in 2012. And those states, the border states and the coastal states as well, Republicans have a hard time fielding good candidates in those states traditionally.
Excellent points by all. I just want to show you quickly at the map. These are only some. These are only some. These aren't all of them. The ones I've circled quickly during the conversation, these are seats now held by Democrats in states that President Obama carried in 2008, but where Republicans won either a Senate race or a governor's race, statewide races, and in some states, both in 2010. So we have a very different, unpredictable political environment.